The United States has flaws, but it's also, the president reminded us last night, the most free, just, and exceptional nation on earth. That's true. In our country, free speech is allowed. Violence is not allowed. What separates American democracy from Taliban theocracy, for example, is that in America, people can disagree with one another and disagree with the government without fearing for their lives. This used to be obvious. It was the foundation of our civic life. And yet all of a sudden, Joe Biden could never say this out loud. His voters have destroyed cities across the country and murdered dozens of Americans. He must stay silent about that. But Donald Trump doesn't have to, and so he said it. And as a result, for the first time since the Wuhan coronavirus arrived here, the president seemed likely to win re-election. Democrats are watching carefully. They know this. They can smell something has changed. They know why. Normal people hate the violence they have unleashed. And that's why this week, finally, after months, Joe Biden issued a tepid statement gently scolding the rioters. But it's too late for that. This has gone on for too long. Joe Biden's voters no longer listen to him. Last night, as the president spoke, a group of Biden voters gathered outside the White House to threaten and intimidate anyone who dares support Donald Trump. They waited to ambush attendees as they came out of the convention. The mayor of Washington, an incompetent hack called Muriel Bowser, made all of this possible. Bowser has been on the mob side since the very first day. She allowed the mob to harass and terrify elderly taxpayers as they walked on city streets they pay for. Watch this. The cops didn't protect these people. Muriel Bowser won't let them protect these people. She won't let them do their jobs. Law enforcement in Washington, D.C., as in so many places controlled by the Democratic Party, has become completely politicized, just as it is in the third world. If you don't vote the right way, if you don't vote for them, you don't get police protection. The mob is allowed to hurt you. Last night, things fell apart so quickly outside the White House that the Secret Service told Kentucky Senator Rand Paul and his wife Kelly, and two of their friends, to get on a bus and leave the immediate area. The senator then planned to get an Uber back to his hotel. But the streets were blocked and no one would let them through. That's when Rand Paul was attacked, along with the officers protecting him. Watch. These people are not only violent, they're incredibly stupid. They're mouth breathers. They're morons. They had nothing. Say her name, they shouted at Rand Paul. They were talking about Breonna Taylor, a Kentucky woman who was killed in a no-knock police raid when the police came under fire. In fact, as it happens, Rand Paul himself authored a bill to end no-knock police raids, and that bill was literally called the Justice for Breonna Taylor Act. Irony of ironies, but it didn't matter. Paul's had to face political violence before. In 2017, he was nearly murdered by a Bernie Sanders supporter. Then he was attacked by his neighbor, apparently for political reasons, and had to have part of his lung removed. It took months to get better. We'll talk to Rand Paul in a minute about what happened last night, but he was not the only one attacked. A van carrying Fox News staff, just technical people, mostly doing their jobs, non-political people, was blocked and boarded in the middle of a city street. Watch. We want to be clear, we don't think the van was targeted because Fox News employees were inside. It seems like the Biden voters who were pounding on it had no idea who was riding in it. They didn't care. Their assumption seemed to be that everyone in a motor vehicle is an agent of white supremacy. Certainly they think that of anyone in uniform. Watch as BLM lunatics attack a black cop in Washington this morning. this isn't happening by accident. It didn't happen 5 years ago. It's happening now not because police are more brutal or more unarmed African-American men are being killed by the police. That's not happening. It's a total hoax. It's happening because Democrats, the leadership of that party, are encouraging it and have been for quite some time. Here's Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley openly calling for violence in the streets early this month. Watch.
Hold them accountable.
Well,
make the phone call, send the email, show up. You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives. And unfortunately, there's plenty to go around.
There needs to be unrest in the streets. We've been watching what unrest in the streets looks like. Ayanna Pressley says we need more. And so there is more. Pressley, like Nancy Pelosi and Barack and Michelle Obama and so many other leaders in that party, is a racial arsonist. She wants Americans to despise and fear each other. She is pleased when things burn. Pressley has no skills. She's never created anything in her life. She has built nothing. Tearing things down is the only way Ayanna Pressley and people like Ayanna Pressley become powerful. And so they push hate and chaos. Republicans, for all their many and very obvious faults, many of which we point out on the show, don't do this. They don't do anything like this. When was the last time a mob of Trump voters torched a Wendy's or looted a Target? And if you did, if you watched them do that, how would you feel about it? You'd be repulsed. Do you think Republican leaders would defend Trump voters if they did that? Do you think they'd encourage them to do it again? Please. That's a rhetorical question. You know the answer. It's obvious. Only Biden voters do this. Only the left does this. And they've done it for a long time. A year ago this month, for example, they gathered outside Mitch McConnell's home, where his family lives. Do you even remember what this was about? Watch.
We're at McConnell's house. This think he's about to get some rest. Not if the children that you're kidnapping can't get any rest. Not if families who are getting murdered can't get any rest. Mitch! He's in there nursing his little broken arm. He should have broke his little raggedy, wrinkled ass neck. Murder turtle! Murder turtle! Just stab the motherfucker in the heart.
Just stab the MFer in the heart. They mocked the 77-year-old McConnell, who was recovering from surgery. They said that out loud. It was on tape. We probably played it at the time. We didn't take it seriously enough. The rest of us should have stopped what we were doing that day and demanded from law enforcement, demanded from Democratic leaders, an end to the threats, to the lunatic behavior, to the implied violence. None of that has any place in a civilized country, much less this country. But we didn't do that. We let it pass. We ignored it over time. And so the threats continued, and then the threats became violence, as they inevitably do. The question now is, can we stop it? Rand Paul is a senator from Kentucky. He joins us tonight. Senator, thanks so much for coming on, and his wife, Kelly Paul, also.
Thanks, Tucker.
Thanks a lot. Actually, I'll start with you, Mrs. Paul. You wrote, I thought, a very affecting piece in the Washington Examiner today about what you experienced last night. Can you tell us what it was like to be in the middle of the threats and the screaming?
It was absolutely terrifying. I have never experienced anything like that in my life. I hope no one else ever has to. We felt completely powerless. Before some of the video that I think you have shown where the police with the bikes were kind of creating a moving barricade for us, in the minutes before the police with the bikes showed up, we were completely encircled and surrounded, pressed up against two cops who we were surrounded by people who were screaming in our faces, yelling that they were going to F us up, screaming, say her name. And at one point, you know, at first I was trying to look in their eyes and trying to have any kind of reason or to see someone as a human being, and I realized they did not see us as human beings. We were Trump supporters, so they absolutely despised us. Even though if we were ever in a situation and maybe could have talked to some of those folks and they knew about Rand's background in criminal justice reform and the things that I've spoken out on, we could have had agreement. But in that moment, it was just like this bloodthirsty mob, and all I could think of was the man who was kicked in the head in Portland, you know, a week ago, or the man whose jaw was broken, or 8-year-old Sequoia Turner. I really felt that we were going to lose our lives. I thought someone was going to throw a brick. I mean, it was the most terrifying moment of my entire life.
So given that, let me just ask quickly to you a follow-up, Mrs. Paul. Given that the experience that you had, you just described it so vividly. What do you make of the news coverage of it? I've seen a couple of different accounts today that suggest it was not a big deal at all, that you're complaining for political reasons. NPR tonight described it as a peaceful protest. What do you make of that?
I'm furious. I am furious. I'm furious that Biden and Kamala Harris are not denouncing this. You tell me, if you are surrounded by a mob that will not let you move, that is screaming in your face, that is holding you completely hostage, and you cannot walk to your hotel and you are on a dark street, you tell me that's not violence. You tell me that is not an attack.
That's right.
There were times, Tucker, when they came up to us, it happened incredibly quickly. You know, it's nearly 1 in the morning. We have 2 blocks. We think we can make it 2 blocks. It looks clear. We make it 1 block, and right about the time we see these policemen, we go up. Just as we approach the policeman, the mob turns the corner, and they say, "We've got him. We've got Rand Paul. We've got him trapped." 30 people descend on us, but then 30 became 60, became 90, became 120, and it swelled. And we were in a pocket of Kelly and I and the 2 officers all touching each other in a very small pocket. They're completely surrounding us. They are pushing us. They are threatening to kill us, and they're yelling and screaming.
Closer and closer
and
to the
I
point
thought
where
we were going to be
inches.
overrun, and so I looked to the policeman and I yelled in his ear. I said, "They know who I am. I'm in Congress." I don't think the policeman did know I was in Congress. And I said, "They know you need to call for reinforcement." And he's calling for reinforcement. But even though there were thousands of policemen, it seemed like forever to come. And we were there, but it was the pitch and the tenor of this is the invective. Everything is getting louder and louder and louder. And I thought they were going to be overrun. I mean, these police were brave, but there were 2 of them at first versus 120 people. If someone falls to the ground, that's when the mob becomes kicking and stomping people, and you're done for. But they came up. They were incredibly brave. The president has said this, and I'll say it again. They deserve our thanks, our praise. They deserve a medal, and I'll be there in the White House when the president gives them a medal for what they did, because I truly believe we would have been killed. The left says, "Oh, well, you weren't killed, so you weren't threatened." No, the police saved our lives because these thugs would have killed us. They would have stomped us and killed us. And these people don't live in D.C. either. There's evidence that's coming out that these people were paid and that they came to town at someone else's behest.
So why are we putting up with this? Why are we? I mean, this is the most heavily fortified city in the United States. It's the seat of our federal government. They don't own these streets. Most of them aren't even from there. Why have we tolerated this crap for 3 months? I'm serious. We don't need to put up with this. Why are we?
Well, look at where the problems are. Portland, Minneapolis, Washington, D.C., Chicago, and New York. What do they all have in common? Democrat mayors. Not just this time around, Democrat mayors for 50 years. And the thing is, the president put it very well in his speech last night. He said, if you want the country to be Portland, if you want the country to be on fire, put somebody in the White House who doesn't care about whether we have police or not. The police are brave and they are protecting us. Are there for reforms? You know me, Tucker. I'm for a lot of reforms for the police. I am for reforming them, but I never let myself forget that 99% of them or more are good people. They live amongst us. They go to our church. We see them in the grocery store. And if we want to make it out that they're all bad people, it's the same misnomer or the misrepresentation that they're saying, oh, all white people are racist. We actually have less racism and prejudice than we've ever had in my lifetime.
Of course.
We have been going in the right direction for so long. You look at corporate America, you look at universities, you look at intermarriage, you look at church integration. We have been going in the right direction. But now they're telling you that the world hates you and you might as well just break windows and take stuff instead of going to college and succeeding. It just boggles my mind where we're going, but the violence has to stop.
Like right now. And we can have those debates later once we make it safe to walk on streets that we pay for. Brandon, Kelly, Paul, thank you both very much. That was compelling. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tucker.
Well, last night, Joe Biden voters in Washington physically assaulted and harassed Brendan Straka and another man. Straka is a former Democrat who founded the Walkaway campaign to encourage others to leave the party as well. Here's what happened last night in D.C.
That's fine.
I don't speak to people like that. I
really do. Likes your we like you, don't you? Want to see that? Little sausage it's what it's
Look, get away from me. You get away from me.
So that is what the left would call, the New York Times would call a hate crime, but only if it happened to someone they agreed with politically. They don't agree with the people in that video, so of course they ignored it completely. Keep in mind, this is the same media establishment that jumped with all four paws on the Jussie Smollett hoax just last year. Remember that?
There are many indications of a hate crime here. They are looking for two suspects who were apparently wearing Make America Great Again hats, though that has not yet been officially confirmed.
And the media has really cast so much doubt on his story, which I find so personally offensive, that a gay black man is targeted and then suddenly he becomes the victim of people's disbelief. Why? It's so outrageous to me.
He said his attackers hurled racial and homophobic slurs at him. And this is America in 2019.
These people are such loathsome frauds, such liars. They're saying nothing about this, of course. Brandon Straka is here tonight, joins us live. Thanks so much for coming on. Tell us what happened, where you were, and what these people said to you.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Tucker. So I was a guest last night at the White House for the close of the RNC convention to watch President Trump's speech. It was a magical evening. Everything was absolutely incredible, like something out of a storybook. I was there with a bunch of people from my organization, the Walkaway Campaign. And as I was leaving with two people, Mike Harlow, who's a fellow gay man and conservative activist, and the ED of Walkaway, Libby Albert, we were exiting the convention along with a large group of people. And there was a small group of BLM hecklers there to harass people as they were walking out. The majority of the people exited and went to the right. The two friends of mine and I exited and we went to the left, which ended up being a big mistake. We were trying to get back to our hotel, and as we were walking back to our hotel, four of the people who were with the BLM mob that was harassing the majority of the people as they were leaving was walking down the street, crossing us as we were walking back to the hotel, and that's when they started hurling homophobic slurs at us, anti-gay slurs, and then they walked up to Mikey Harlow, spit in his face. They threw a drink at me, threw a cup in my face, and then they actually hit Libby Albert, the girl who was with me. They called us the anti-gay F word about 3 or 4 times, as you can see in that video. And I have to tell you, Tucker, I've endured anti-gay attacks like this actually dozens of times in my life. It's been probably 10 years at least since something like this happened. What made this one feel really, really different was that this time the attackers get to portray themselves as the victims. Back in the day when we would endure homophobic attacks, at least the people attacking didn't have the nerve to say that they were the victims.
So that is such a good point. So quickly, to all the well-meaning rich ladies with BLM signs on their front lawns, and to all the corporate HR departments who are allocating millions and millions of dollars to BLM, what would you say to them?
Well, I would say that this is a group that just attacked 2 gay men. They've attacked people around the country violently. This is a violent group, and they're a dangerous group. And if I just may say really, really quickly, too, because you brought up the Jussie Smollett thing and the way the media covered that, I would like to ask some of those in media, gay people like Anderson Cooper, Don Lemon, and Andy Cohen, do you have anything to say about the fact that 2 gay men were attacked last night by Black Lives Matter? Because you guys have been really supportive of this organization. I'd love to know what you think about that now that 2 people in your community were attacked by this organization.
It's a fair question. Brandon, thanks so much for coming on tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tucker.
So in 2 weeks back-to-back, we had the Democratic National Convention and the Republican National Convention. They weren't the same. We'll show you just how different they were just ahead.
Greedy drug companies seeking even bigger profits are lying about President Trump. Here's what President Trump's plan really does. Reduces Medicare and prescription drug prices, reduces the cost of insulin, cuts the cost of life-saving medicine. That's why Big Pharma is attacking President Trump. They liked it better with Joe Biden when healthcare costs skyrocketed. President Trump is standing up to the drug companies and fighting for us.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Why am I standing in the middle of this warehouse with Pete and Seth Talbot? Pat Boone here again, because I wanted to see some of the behind the scenes at Relief Factor.
Well, this really is a family affair. In fact, that's my daughter Anna over there helping send out 3-week quick start.
And she is a sweet granddaughter, Pat.
I know.
But really, everyone of our staff here knows that when someone's in pain, we need to get it out to them right away. And we do.
I picked up the phone, I called Relief Factor, had my packet within 3 or 4 days. Within 7 to 10 days, I was totally pain-free.
Back and neck pain, shoulder, hip, or knee pain can be really frustrating, which is why we created the 3-week quick start.
And then discounted it to only $19.95, 100% drug-free, easy to take packets, and yes, it can be at your door in just 2 or 3 days. We're all on a mission to get you out of pain, all of us. Go to ReliefFactor.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I guarantee you they'll be the most comfortable sheets you'll ever own.
With the Giza Dream Sheets, I'm getting the best sleep of my life. They are so soft and smooth. I never slept so good.
I fall asleep faster because I'm actually comfortable.
I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable, which is why I can give you my full 10-year warranty. But I didn't stop there. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. I guarantee you the first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now. MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors and will be the softest, most comfortable sheets you will ever own. Use the promo code and get 2 for 1 low price, plus free shipping. Giza Dreams are made with the finest, most sought-after cotton in the world. Giza cotton was once reserved for only the finest dress shirts, but is now available in Mike's Giza Dream Sheets. They feature a beautiful silky sateen weave that helps keep you cool and comfortable all night long.
With the Giza Dream Sheets, I'm getting the best rest of my life.
I love my Giza Dream Sheets. Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Use the promo code and Mike will give you a very special 2 for 1 low price and free shipping. That's right, get 2 for 1 low price and free shipping. Call or go online now.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Sunday, as the presidential election closes in, China's influence intensifies. Now, John Ratcliffe breaks down the potential threat to our national security on Sunday Morning Futures.
Spectrum Mobile is now the fastest growing mobile provider in the nation, growing faster than Verizon and AT&T, and even growing faster than T-Mobile. It's easy to see why. Spectrum delivers the fastest overall speeds and is the most reliable mobile service coast to coast. There are no contracts, added taxes, or fees. Switch and you could save up to 40% and see why Spectrum Mobile is the fastest growing mobile provider. Learn more at spectrummobile.com.
We're shifting into high gear during the final days of the open road sales event at David Chevrolet Buick. Get our biggest savings of the year on our best selection ever. Take up to 15% of MSRP cash back on our most popular new Chevys. New 2020 Buick Encore Preferred, now just $199 a month. Or new 2020 Chevy Equinox LS, lease one for only $229 a month. Don't wait another minute. Hit the road and get to David Chevrolet Buick today. Online at davidcars.com.
Well, the party's nominating conventions are over for the 2020 election cycle. They were essentially virtual. And amazingly, no one saw this coming. From a production quality perspective, the Republicans won. The party of Hollywood lost. The Republicans shot real fireworks, not bottle rockets. They found actual people to clap for their nominee. They didn't have to digitally insert anyone. They even managed to exit the convention without anyone getting hurt. All these are big achievements in Democrat-run Washington, but how did the conventions compare on a substantive level? Well, Democrats insisted their convention would be light and uplifting, and they hoped you would take their word for it. Don't look too closely at the fine print. If you did happen to catch what they said from the podium, though, you may have reached a different conclusion. Perpetually aggrieved Michelle Obama, for example, declared that America is a deeply racist country. She lectured America about this from her $12 million home on Martha's Vineyard, her summer house. Life is very hard for people who look like Michelle Obama, said Michelle Obama. She didn't explain why she was broadcasting all of this from a mansion in one of the palest communities on earth, but whatever. Watch.
They see people calling the police on folks minding their own business just because of the color of their skin. They watch in horror as children are torn from their families and thrown into cages, and pepper spray and rubber bullets are used on peaceful protesters for a photo op. Sadly, this is the America that is on display for the next generation. A nation that's underperforming not simply on matters of policy, but on matters of character.
Is there anyone more privileged than that? And by the way, if you doubt her privilege, go read her thesis from Princeton. And ask yourself, how did someone who wrote something this stupid wind up this famous? Anyway, she's telling you that the cages her husband built are bad now. Throwing rocks and torching churches is in fact peaceful protesting. And by the way, the country is racist. At the Republicans' convention, by contrast, the Kentucky Attorney General, a Republican called Daniel Cameron, was slightly more upbeat. He said he supported the president. According to Joe Biden, that means he's not black, but he did it anyway. And then he delivered what effectively amounted to a condemnation of identity politics. Here's part of it.
They believe your skin color must dictate your politics. And if you fail to conform while exercising your God-given right to speak and think freely, they will cut you.
Fundamental fairness. That might sound like a worthwhile goal for a civilized country, but laws and fairness, Barack Obama told us, are in fact expressions of bigotry. Destroying businesses and waking people up in the middle of the night because you don't like the way they look, that's fulfilling our country's dreams. Watch.
Americans of all races joining together to declare, in the face of injustice and brutality at the hands of the state, that Black Lives Matter. No more, but no less. To the young people who led us this summer, telling us we need to be better, in so many ways, you are this country's dreams fulfilled.
Another pompous rich person lecturing us. Someday we're going to do a dramatic reading of his wife's Princeton thesis, by the way. It'll take the whole hour. You'll enjoy it. But whatever, none of the rioting that these people are encouraging will ever get to where they live. There aren't going to be any riots on Martha's Vineyard. None of the low-income housing projects that Barack Obama wants to build in your neighborhood will ever be constructed in his neighborhood. Barack Obama knows that. Republicans know it too. That's why in one of the smartest programming moves of their convention, Republicans didn't simply give speaking slots to politicians. They brought in people like Mark and Patricia McCloskey. That's the couple from St. Louis who were terrorized in their own yard by a mob of Biden voters and were indicted for trying to defend themselves. They spoke to the convention. Here's part of what they said.
It seems as if the Democrats no longer view the government's job as protecting honest citizens from criminals, but rather protecting criminals from honest citizens.
And the police aren't coming when you call. In Democrat-run cities, they're already being defunded, disbanded. Blaming our best and allowing society's worst?
Democrats have turned their backs on our brave police officers. They call it defunding. Isn't it ironic that Democrat politicians have personal security to protect them? So why don't they forego their security and replace them with social workers, especially since that's what they want for you and me?
Well, that's a great question. They're turning America into a genuinely dangerous country, but they're keeping their own bodyguards, which you're paying for. Why are they doing that? Well, they didn't answer. Instead, they treated us to yet another lecture from entitled Rich Girl Sandy Cortez. She did not grow up in the hood. She grew up in leafy Westchester. She's learned a lot from that experience. Watch.
In fidelity and gratitude to a mass people's movement working to establish 21st century social, economic, and human rights, including guaranteed health care, higher education, living wages, and labor rights for all people in the United States.
A mass people's movement, says Sandy Cortez of Westchester. That's what we need. Well, we've had quite a few mass people's movements around the world. One of them took place in Cuba in 1959. Maximo Alvarez grew up in Cuba. He lived through the world that Sandy Cortez would like to create. He fled to Florida to survive. He spoke at the convention, really one of the best speeches of the RNC. Here's part of it.
I heard the promises of Fidel Castro, and I can never forget all those who grew up around me, who looked like me, who suffered and starved and died because they believed those empty promises. Those false promises spread the wealth, free education, free health care, defund the police, trust the socialist state more than your family and your community. They don't sound radical to my ears. They sound familiar.
They sound familiar. They do sound familiar. Trust the state more than you trust your own family. Yeah, that is what they're telling you, by the way. That's the theme that runs through it. Make us more powerful. Turn over your lives to us. Look, we often attack the Republican Party, and they deserve it. But when you get right down to it, there's a massive difference between the party. The bedrock beliefs of the parties are not the same. And that was the most obvious takeaway from the last 2 weeks. Well, over on CNN, the governor of New York's brother has a primetime show. Is he the man he seems to be on TV? Well, secret tape recordings suggest no, he's a very different man from the one you see on TV. We'll explain next.
South Dakota, the land of the free. With our breathtaking landscapes and wide open spaces, we're a place to safely explore. And with our low taxes, we're a place to grow. We're open for opportunity, and always will be. I'm Governor Kristi Noem. Celebrate what makes America great, and experience the great faces and great places of South Dakota.
From muscle pain, body aches, to strains, Blue Emu Maximum Arthritis. It works fast and you won't stink. Its unique formula with emu oil penetrates deep to relieve arthritis pain, sore muscles, strains, and more.
So good to see you.
You too.
So really, how are you? Oh, well, look, that's what we're both taking right now, Fanapt. You know, that's really been helping me manage my schizophrenia. I used to hear these terrible voices.
You're so embarrassing.
I used to feel like everyone was staring at me. But we're doing much better now, right?
Fanapt is approved for the treatment of schizophrenia in adults. In clinical trials, Fanapt significantly improves symptoms of schizophrenia compared to placebo. Fanapt may change your heart rhythm, which could elevate risk of sudden death. Your doctor will consider this when deciding among treatments, and may prescribe another medication first, or may instruct you to take a smaller dosage of Fanapt.
The good thing to know is we're not alone.
Call 8557-FANAPT.
Pure Talk USA is simply smarter wireless. Simply the same network as the overpriced big brands, but half the price. Now that's smarter. Unlimited talk, text, plus 2 gigs of data. All for just $20 a month with no contract. Choose from a massive selection of Androids and iPhones. Just dial pound 250 and say keyword Pure Wireless to save 50% off your first month. Pure Talk USA. Simply smarter wireless.
At times like these, it's important to know that you're staying safe at home. Visiting Angels is committed to your safety and comfort. Our compassionate caregivers provide one-on-one essential home care services for our senior loved ones. At Visiting Angels, personal home care is our passion. We're here for you.
Visiting Angels, America's choice in home care.
I'm not a doctor. I'm not even in a doctor's office.
I'm standing on the streets talking to real people about their heart. How's your heart?
My heart's pretty good.
You sure?
I think so.
How do you know? You're driving a car, you have the check engine light, but the heart doesn't have a hey, check heart sign. I want to show you something. Put both fingers right on those pads. There you go. In 30 seconds, we're going to have a medical grade EKG reading. There it is. That is you.
Look at that.
With KardioMobile, the FDA-cleared personal EKG device, you can take a medical-grade EKG in just 30 seconds from anywhere. KardioMobile is proven to detect atrial fibrillation, one of the leading causes of stroke, and it's the only personal EKG in the world that can also detect normal heart rhythm, bradycardia, and tachycardia.
How much do you think this device costs?
Probably $1,000.
$99.
Wow, that's impressive.
It's never been more important to check your heart at home. KardioMobile is now available for just $89. Order at cardiomobile.com or Amazon.
I take my patients' health seriously, so when I recommend a product, I need to know it actually works. That's why I recommend Smart Mouth Clinical DDS Mouthwash. It's the only over-the-counter prescription-strength mouthwash that provides maximum protection against bleeding gums and gingivitis. And like all Smart Mouth rinses, it eliminates bad breath for 24 hours. With Smart Mouth Clinical DDS, you can finally get protection against bleeding gums and gingivitis while eliminating bad breath. For a healthier mouth, Smart Mouth is the solution.
Don't waste your time and money at the chain store. They got the best auto parts, brake parts, suspension parts, and dealer parts too. The website's so easy to use. The lowest prices and fast delivery too. All the parts your car will ever need. All the savvy folks are buying parts at rockauto.com. All the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
A plane just doesn't drop out of the sky. You had the bomb theory, you had the missile theory, you always have sabotage.
Get a copy of Sean Hannity's new book when you join today.
Television is a famously phony medium. Grown men wear makeup to work. Hate to admit that, but it's true. But television also, over time, is revealing. If you watch long enough, you can tell who's real and who's fraudulent. Well, you're about to have all of your perceptions confirmed. Remember Michael Cohen, the president's former lawyer, the one who went to jail for tax evasion? Cohen was a committed sleazeball, so it probably won't surprise you to learn that he was very friendly with a number of well-known media figures. Underneath it all, they had a lot in common: the unethical lawyer and the unethical talk shows hosts. Cohen talked to all of them recently. Well, it turns out those conversations were tape recorded. The audio quality is excellent. Copies have been floating around for quite some time now. None has aired publicly yet. Who is he talking to? A lot of people. Chris Cuomo of CNN was one of them. Cohen and the governor's brother had a pretty shocking conversation. Bottom line, Chris Cuomo is not the person he pretends to be on CNN. And there's more. This is a developing story. We'll have all of it for you next week. Tune in. Well, prosecutors have charged 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse with murder. 2 people were shot during the riots this week. One of the people who was there right at the scene, in fact, no one was closer, was Richie McGinnis of the Daily Caller. Richie McGinnis was almost hit by a gunshot at one point. He was a critical witness to what has become a very controversial crime. He joins us tonight for details on what he saw. Richie, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
So we spoke to you the other day, but didn't quite understand just how close you were to this shooting. It turns out there may have been gunshots fired before the one that killed Joseph Rosenberg. Tell us what you saw.
Well, Tucker, I was just about 10 or 12 feet behind them as they ran into the parking lot. And what I saw was Rosenbaum pursuing Rittenhouse, and Rittenhouse turned around. Now, right before he turned around, I'm not sure if this was a reason why he turned around, but there was a gunshot, and that's actually visible on video. It's not clear whether or not that gunshot was fired into the air or towards Rittenhouse, but Rittenhouse did turn around immediately after that. And at that point, he went from running away to aiming his weapon at Rosenbaum, and I was actually directly behind Rosenbaum. So I took 1 or 2 steps to my right as Rosenbaum was lunging for the barrel of the rifle, and he was that close to him. And Rittenhouse actually took the barrel of the rifle and just dodged around And at that point, as Rosenbaum was falling forward, he fired quickly 4 shots into Rosenbaum. And at that point, I was only about 12, maybe 15 feet behind them. And I saw Rosenbaum fall to the ground. And at that point, my concern, as I saw Rittenhouse run away, was to provide whatever aid I could to the man who I just saw gravely injured directly in front of me. And what I didn't realize until after, when I reviewed the video footage, is that when Rittenhouse ran away, he actually ran around the car and back up behind me. And I was kneeled on the ground. Over Rosenbaum, he was face down. And I was preparing to find out where the bullet holes were when a pair of legs arrived next to me. And I just saw the legs. I didn't see anything else. And I said, "What are you doing? Call 911. And I saw that individual grab the phone and put it up to their head. And I only found out later that that was actually Rittenhouse himself, who had just shot Rosenbaum. And soon after that, he ran away, and a bunch of other individuals arrived. We did our best to plug whatever wounds we saw, and somebody said that the hospital was just across the street. So I slung Rosenbaum's arm over my shoulder, his right arm. Another individual took his left, and then some others took his legs, and one other man was holding my shirt actually on his head. And we took him to the hospital as quickly as we could.
And he died.
And he died.
But shots were fired before Rittenhouse fired. The guy he shot was trying to pull his gun out of his hands. And then we learn that another man he shot in the arm had a handgun in his hand running at him with the gun in his hand. Has that man been charged for attempted murder, do you know?
Not that I know of, Tucker, but I did see that man actually in the hospital. Shortly after I arrived, he came through the emergency room waiting room with a couple of police officers, and I saw his arm. And obviously, you can take a look at the damage. I won't describe it on